What is anti-white? For me personally, it is hedonism. I spent nearly my entire adult life focused on personal pleasure and with next to no identity as a Westman. Like YouTuber Chantel, also known as Foodie Beauty, I gorged myself, but instead of food, I used sex as an attempt to satiate an empty, hollow existence. Many may think, how is having sex anti-white? Hedonistic sex leads to unstable, fleeting relationships, and devotion to personal pleasure leads to not having children. When one does not reproduce, one is biologically white erased from the gene pool. That's anti-white. There are constant messages provided by the anti-white narrative to live life with abandon. The playboy or playgirl who only works, travels, and indulges. The childless couple who spends their time and money on material possessions and lavish trips. Rarely, if ever, do we find messaging for Western kind that encourages stable marriage and family creation. Other means of keeping Westmen locked in pursuing aimless pleasures and pointless goals is encouraging any identity other than a racial identity. We are funneled into sexual identities, political identities, ideological identities, and always misdirected from our racial identity. Once we each put white well-being first and foremost as our highest value, embrace our racial identity, and feel our deep love for our great extended family of Western kind, a shift inside us occurs. It is through this love that we gain hope and begin our redemption from anti-white behavior and life choices. Many words we are using regularly are within the anti-white narrative. When we call someone a transsexual or transgender or a tranny, we are giving credence to make-believe. Westmen are born either male or female, with a very tiny number as hermaphrodite. This biological reality can never be altered. To label any of our people by these anti-white terms assists the anti-white lie and helps condemn them to biological white erasure. That's anti-white. The same may be said if we call someone a homosexual, or gay, or a lesbian, or a bisexual. These are words invented by anti-whites to convince our people they are something other than what they are, Westmen. Disagree with me? Then at what point does someone suddenly shift from being a Westman and become one of these anti-white labels? If they just have a thought? If they act on a thought once? Twice? 1,000 times? Each of us can take a simple DNA test which conclusively shows we are biological Westmen. There is no such test for these made-up terms which trap our people into believing they are some faux identity other than our concrete, provable, biological Westman selves, and which often draw our people into biological white erasure. That's anti-white. The anti-white propaganda machine churns out material 24/7 to convince our men and women to be non-reproductive, hedonistic whores. While there are many hundreds of ways to hook up for quick, anonymous sex, there are very limited ways to be found to meet a partner to court, marry, and have children with. The anti-white propaganda machine endlessly tells us to partner with non-whites, and that Westmen are bad, stupid, and evil. Spending our lives engaging in sexual trysts, which ultimately lead to biological white erasure, that's anti-white. The concept of duty over desire is something intentionally destroyed by the embrace of hedonism. Whereas in the past, a person would put their sexual desires aside in order to fulfill their duty to procreate and raise the next generation in a stable household, today this norm has been attacked from every angle. Have a fetish? Indulge it. Have a quirk? Indulge it. The push is to indulge desires rather than sacrifice for the greater good. No people can survive this type of intentional destruction of their genetic stability, and the anti-whites pushing hedonism know this full well. This is why we get the push to place anti-white identities, which are easily overcome by love for one's people, into positions of core identity. Remove from our highest value the love for our people. Take our racial identity and replace it with a faux identity. That's a recipe for white erasure. We need a return to an embrace of healthy pleasure, which promotes white well-being, and reject the abject hedonism which promotes white erasure. Our highest value must be our love for our people.